I'm joined here today by the one and only Andre Ewell, who's coming off the big win over Jonathan Martinez at UFC 247. Thanks so much for joining me, man. How are you?
Pretty well. Thank you for having me. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. First things first, before we talk about the fight and all that, man, how's the arm doing?
Arm is healing. It's making its way to recovery mode of being back 100 and allowing me to hit the bag and hit mitts. You know, but definitely everything's on schedule. Everything's moving forward. I just gotta do is just wait basically.
Yeah. How's it going dealing with that? I mean, I assume you have to use, the coat hanger to scratch yourself and things like that. I mean, how's it going dealing with that?
Well, funny moment is they basically told me not to use the coat hanger. I wish I
Oh,
could because my arm is itching like crazy. It got to this moment I'm like over here taking toothpicks and or not or Q-tips and everything, like
yeah.
going into the cast with Aquafare or Aqua. I keep wanting to say Aquafine for some odd reason, but the dang
Yeah.
A&D cream, to honestly like just keep it over there from staying from itching and everything. But they, just kind of just working through it. They give me every like 2 weeks. I go in there to change the cast. So I got until next week, and I'll have a whole new color one.
And so, have you been having to shower with trash bags over your arm and all that fun stuff with a cast?
Yeah, difficult, really difficult, and especially in the first like few days, like after the surgery, I couldn't do a certain movement on the arm. I couldn't touch my back and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I ended up getting like all the equipment, the right equipment to honestly work and kind of like push me forward with everything when it comes to the showering. Now, it got me like one of these long loofah sticks, able
Oh,
to
yeah.
make sure I get the whole back and everything. So it's like funny and interesting.
And speaking of funny and interesting, everything's going on with the coronavirus. They're talking about washing their hands and everything. Are you able to do that with a cast? I mean, or is that a struggle for you?
My bad. Yeah, my apologies, guys. No, with it, I'm already been like the type that already like washes hands multiple times. Anything I end up touching, I'm like a germaphobe to a T. Like I won't touch a trash can unless I know that there's soap. If there ain't no soap, I won't touch anything. And and it's like I don't know if anybody like ever seen like when you go to like a nightclub or anything, like if they don't have like napkins in the door, it's one of those handles you got to pull. I'm and they're stuck until someone opens it, or I end up trying to get so creative to open it. So everything kind of like depends on what's happening. So I could be like locked in the bathroom, not knowing that I'm not locked in the bathroom, but locked in the bathroom until someone opens the
Oh,
bathroom
yeah.
to let me out. So it's one of those things. But end up with the cast, I end up always getting the knuckles and finger deep. But I do everything I can not to even use my right hand. So right now I am coming a full-on left-hander, especially when it comes to sushi. With the
Oh, yeah.
sticks, I can't cheat, so I have to work it out.
For sure. We mentioned that. Well, I mentioned the virus a little bit, man. How are you dealing with that so far? Has it affected you? I mean, we know there's things with toilet paper going on, being quarantined inside. Have you had anything sort of affect you yet?
No, definitely. It's like affecting other people. It's like obviously I just go to the store.
Yeah.
I'm very like simple when it comes to a lot of things, and I don't use a lot of things like or a lot of stuff. So, but when it kind of comes to everybody else, I end up seeing like what's causing, and the dark cloud that's honestly floating around people. But right now, only that I could say it's becoming more disturbing is the fact is in that I'm about to have a child and everything, and me
Yeah.
getting to the hospital. Like they
Right.
already kicked me out right now, so I can't go to the hospital when the lady ends up going over there. So so they just literally just made that rule yesterday. So I'm like kind of like already irritated about it. In fact,
Yeah.
saying since they moved in that direction, they might end up pushing it where I might not be able to be in there while my child's being born and everything. So that's kind of like upsetting and just factors in like I know like people saying, "Oh, don't worry about it, they'll do it," but they have their own mindset.
Right.
They go by their own rules and everything. So and that's like something I'm not honestly down with. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a case, and I might be the case of beating everybody up at the hospital just to be able to see my son, being born. But
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I understand that. I mean, what's the emotion like, knowing that? Because I assume it's already a stressful period. Has that just doubled it on top of it for you?
yeah, just for the past day, just thinking
Yeah.
about that, and it's like it's things that you can't end up doing. If you end up doing something, it'll turn into like a moment of basically negative vibes. And I'm not the type of person that likes to be around negative things. So that's just something I'm not liking, you know. And it's just people like abusing their powers. And I understand, like, oh, for the safety routes, but there's certain things like you gotta have to bend the rule or kind of bypass. But stuff like that just doesn't click. It doesn't click, man.
For sure. Let's move on to something else a little bit. I know that well, at least you followed the NBA, because I know when we talk about the NBA, like, you know what you're talking about. First things first, because I didn't get a chance to talk to you at the time, but man, what was your reaction when you found out about the late great Kobe Bryant?
That hit. That truly did hit. It hit
Yeah.
like when Nipsey passed. It's something where it kind of comes down to where that Kobe, was big on kind of put like this. Just it was a light. Like some people looked at him like freaking. We could say like a Bible verse if you want to like look at it. It's a big impact where you end up changing a lot of people's lives, and it even gave people hope. And like the whole mentality a lot of people are going with, oh, work hard, is basically coming off of him. Like
Yeah.
he ended up turning something of just being an average player or a good player, but when he got to NBA, an average player, and then turned that around as being someone that won rings, and then turned that around and became one of the best, or the best player in our generation.
Yeah.
Comparing up to Michael Jordan. So when he went, everybody ended up touching it. Ends up hitting that heart. So a lot of tears going around, but it definitely was a big turnaround, man. Big downfall there.
Yeah, it was crazy how much it affected. I mean, even myself, obviously, I never met him, but it was just crazy how hard it hit people. I never expected that. Do you have any like Kobe Bryant stories, like a big Kobe Bryant memory that stands in your mind?
The only memory one I ended up loving and love to go back to is when he made that commercial about being better, and Kanye was on it, and
Oh
that's when
yeah.
Kanye was Kanye. Like that was the episode, because that's where everybody ended up seeing that threshold and that line where you are and where you can be, and after you get to where you can be, that there's a level behind that you have to constantly push it. And that's the mentality I always kind of go with. Like, anything and everything that you do, push, go hard, and then, push even harder. Like me, I made it to the top of the best, basically one of the best sports on TV, period, UFC. Top of the pinnacle for all fighting. And I got here, but now it's like, for me being here, it's not just for me to be chilling. It's me to honestly get better and push past my limits.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's about being better than what you are yesterday.
And
The
so
girl.
let's talk about this win over Jonathan Martinez a little bit. Obviously, it was a good performance. You did face some adversity, of course, with your arm and everything. But how do you look back at your performance in that fight?
Uh, every time I look back at it, I end up seeing even more awesome and cool things I end up doing. I definitely won that fight. And I understand, like, when it comes to like decisions, everybody ends up having their own opinion. And granted, I have both hands. That fight doesn't leave the second round. And that's just me personally feeling. Maybe not even the first, truth be told, but everything ended up happening for a reason, and that was my window to honestly showcase, one, my skill, because that's what actually got me past and won the fight, was skill. I do hit hard, but at the times things end up basically turning into the direction that it turned into. The opponent was good, good heart, he was there, strong, and was there. But at the end of the day, three judges' opinions matter, and that's how it ended up floating. And I got the win with it, with the adversity I ended up having. So it ends up leaving a smile.
For sure. How did you deal with the adversity in the fight? I'm always curious about that. I talk about fighters going through the injury. Do you actually feel it? Do you know what's going on, or is it about pushing past? I mean, what's going on through your mind with everything?
It's always about pushing, man. It's always about pushing. What's going in my mind is I got to put on a show for the fans, for the people that's watching and then or tuning in. And it's like it sucks that my performance that I did with literally one arm gets overclouded with Joe Rogan and his biased ways and etc. So people didn't even understand it or getting that, hey, I broke my arm and fought through that whole fight with
Right.
with one arm and everything. So just imagine if people would have known that as they gave me my interview. All right, let me talk on the mic. People end up on seeing that side and they look at it. Oh, dang, he broke his arm, et cetera, et cetera. He did this and he fought for 14 minutes and some change. Like, ends up changing the world. And like I stated, it's like I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be loved. And that's something that I honestly push. So I got to say, it's whatever you can, whatever you do, just bite down, go through it. And that's your window. That's honestly a message for everybody.
And so with the talk of the judges and everything, you mentioned Joe Rogan. Did all of that sour the win for you? Like, did you feel like maybe it was taken away from your victory? Or were you able to look past that and just be happy with the result?
I think it's 50-50 because the other side, it's like I won. It doesn't matter how you end up flipping the coin. You rewatch the fight and put it on mute without Joe Rogan being biased. You clearly know that I won. So it's like it does not take anything away from what I did. I was amazing. I did amazing things, and I had an awesome corner and awesome family and people that end up following or that believe in me also know what's going on. And the people that know the sport and know how a fight actually goes, like you got to end up understanding that you got to judge 5 minutes, not 40 seconds.
Yeah.
4 minutes and some change of me putting hands on somebody, and then you got literally 40 seconds where the tide starts to turn. You don't give someone 40 seconds. You give them for the for the full fight. Like the round is judged for the full fight. But like I stated, like Joe, obviously me and Joe are gonna have some words. We're gonna have to talk. But on the other side, it is what it is. He's basically, he had his own opinion, and it just sucks that it's like the person that had that opinion has a strong voice. He's like, again, like I stated, he's baby Jesus to the microphone. So anybody that like listens and watches, that's what they're getting. And like you just jump. A lot of people are gonna end up be out there jumping, and you gotta end up looking at that. So, but it is what it is.
And so you mentioned Joe Rogan a lot. I don't want to say like your relationship. What's your status with him? Like, I assume you're not cool, but I assume it's not beef either. Like, what's going on there with Joe Rogan?
It's like a lot of love. Like, don't like really chop it up as much. The only time we actually when you talked or even knuckled and bucked and shook hands was factors in me and at both of the weigh-ins and both the pay-per-view that I fought weigh-ins.
Right.
But on the other side, like I said, it ain't no hate going into his action. It's just factors in, hey, he has his opinion, and it's one of those, hey, we're going to have to end up talking so we can kind of get the understanding of how you end up judging things. And instead of like bad talking or down talking, you can't end up having it. Like recently, the last fight, and I'm just telling how I am. The last fight, I came across Bobby Gray. He's another IE, fighter, which everybody should know who he is. He's basically known, it's like a legend, if anything. He's, cool guy. But our business, our coaches and, ended up like bumping heads. We used to like train all together, and it ended up happening with the separation. And it came down to this moment that he was like kind of like down talking off of my first fight, my first UFC fight against him and Brow. And I didn't take it as down talking, but everybody else did. I just took it as a lesson of learning of, okay, he had his opinion. He broke it down. All that I can do is take what he said, recreate it, fix it, and be better the next time. And that's the same thing I have on, with Joe. I only had one arm, but I did what I can. But the next one, I'll make sure it's going to be, off on a better ending of me finishing the fight instead of me dealing with all this. But I ended up catching him at the last UFC fight in Vegas, and it was kind of like one of those, like I just walked up to him, and you can tell it's like a disturbing look, like you don't know if I'm gonna like try to hit him or anything, but but it was one of those things that we chopped it up and we talked, and we kind of like got the understanding, and I ended up breaking it down to him like, look, I could have been like anybody else and been on one of these people and just straight out hit you and try to fight you this whole time, you know? Or I could have been talking back and talking trash and try to get a fight set up where me and him can fight. But in reality, it just came down to it as in, ain't no, you know, it's no hate. You know, it's all love. What you said, I just took it as homework and I moved on. I was like, you know, it's like I get it that my coach don't mess with you and your coach mess with me and my coach, but we're adults to the moment that we should be at least able to say what's up or look at each other, knuckle and buckle, or have a clear understanding where we stand, you know, not one of those where we're guessing like, oh, is he gonna come behind me and hit me, or oh, you know, we're gonna start scrapping, because literally I could have had a full ass opening just to attack him, you know, and since he's a fighter, I'm a fighter, it could have been like one of those, you know, good matches, but we would end up being in the hallways fighting and shit, you know. Could have been like some good publicity, but I'm not the type that does the full publicity of trying to fight people. Like, oh, let me go ahead and slap somebody. Shots fired. I'll just play, you know. But you know, things end up happening. As long as end up understanding that that's how it like floats, you know.
And so with that in mind, when do you get your cast off at this point? Do you have a date yet for when you'll finally be free?
I think it's, let me see. We're in March, April, May 18th. I get it off. So that's like a whole month of rehab. I'm trying to get it all back into place. So May, January, March, April, May, June. So yeah. So May to June, I'm going to be on that recovery mode. And then, but obviously on the recovery, I'm going to be like touching the bag a little bit, trying to get used to it. And then, like the end of or mid-June / going into July, your boy be back in the hardening and everything. And then now that's going to be me cutting weight and being slimmed down and being ready for August / yeah. Sister's trying to cook some stuff over here. But yeah, so that's what ended up happening. So I'll be back August / September.
And so it's good timing for you too, because we're seeing these events get canceled, but you get to focus on your recovery and you don't really have to worry about any of that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true. And it was like my brother brought that up. Like, any convenient that, you know, you thought you're gonna go by, or you're gonna be like waiting by yourself, and then now everybody's waiting with you. And I was like, yeah. So it's like a point made.
All right, so I have one more for you, just kind of a 2-part one, and then we'll let you go. When do you think we'll see you back out in the cage realistically, and ideally, who would you want next?
Right now, I think you guys are definitely going to see me in September. I'm aiming for August, but I feel that September is going to be more of the date for me. And people already know who I want, but right now I'm kind of like leaving it up for the people. Because in my mindset, it's whoever. But it kind of clearly goes down that the fans been like kind of picking the fights, so whoever they pick, and I end up. And I feel like it's going to be exciting or not, or they just feel like it's going to be exciting. I just send it to my manager and let him kind of like float that, and then he'll send it to Shelby, and then if they can make it happen, it happens. But at the end of the day, it kind of goes off on that, like the fans pick my fights, and that's how I'm kind of like placing it.
All right, for sure. Well, thanks so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the victory, and hopefully you get this hospital stuff figured out, man. I'll be rooting for you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.